ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll to Tape film crew. The reason why I'm doing this video right here in the dark is because this fight right here might get dark for Devin Haney. You see the title, Devin Haney, no chin. Brian Norman Jr., no choice. That's the theme of this fight from my perspective. Let me start off by saying that Devin Haney only fought 3 times in the past 2 years. This will be his 4th fight. Brian Norman Jr. fought 3 times in the past year, and this will be his 4th fight. In other words, Devin Haney has not been as active within the past 2 years. In fact, we've seen him go from fighting Regis Prograis after moving up to the 140-pound division, and then moving up at a catchweight. In the interim of that, he fights Ryan Garcia. We all saw the outcome of that fight, and then subsequently followed by the fight at a catchweight with Jose Ramirez. I told y'all 3 years ago when I first started this YouTube channel, and you didn't find this information anywhere else but here. Fighters get beat up and fighters get beat down. Now, we saw physically that Ryan Garcia beat Devin Haney up. It's an unfortunate situation because of the test results, whether legitimate or illegitimate, whether intentional or non-intentional. The results were what they were as far as Ryan Garcia's drug test. But Devin Haney got beat up in that fight. His next fight, the whole world was watching to see how he was going to respond to absorbing punches. So he gets in there and fight Jose Ramirez. And some people couldn't tell whether Devin Haney got beat down by Ryan Garcia or just beat up. See, when you look at a fighter's next fight or two, you will see the telltale signs of whether a fighter got beat down after getting beat up. I taught y'all that, right? And Devin Haney's subsequent fight after the Ryan Garcia debacle, Devin Haney had the numbers 77 associated with his punches. Devin Haney did a lot of retreating in that fight. Devin Haney refused to engage with Jose Ramirez, who, by all accounts, is not a knockout artist or a big puncher. In fact, Jose Ramirez was the older fighter. Typically something that we've seen in the Devin Haney's blueprint of Devin Haney fighting older aged fighters and smaller fighters at the same time. That's not a knock on Devin Haney. I just know the Haney blueprint. But he gets in there and he doesn't engage. I've been around this sport for a very, very long time. And I'm telling you that Devin Haney, in the performance that he displayed against Jose Ramirez, showed me the telltale signs that Devin Haney got beat down in the fight against Ryan Garcia. Now, when I say beat up, to all of my new audience members that don't understand what I'm talking about, I am talking about how when a fighter gets physically beat up in the ring and then their next fight or two you will see the telltale signs of them being psychologically and emotionally beat down. We've seen countless fighters go through that phase in their careers as their careers start tumbling down. Devin Haney in this fight against Brian Norman Jr., he cannot perform the way he did in his last fight back in May of this year in New York. Now, staying on Devin Haney, the question becomes, who is Devin Haney's trainer going to be? I know that Bill Haney, his father, do not train him, and so do you. The reason why I'm asking that question is because the fighter that makes the most adjustments inside that boxing ring is the fighter who usually wins the fight. Devin Haney has gone through the process of hiring multiple trainers in the past several years. But his dad has been the leading voice in the corner in between rounds. And the instructions that I've been hearing his dad give him has shown me time and time again that he lacks a lot of experience and knowledge about the sport of boxing. And yes, I'm sure that there were other experienced and world-class trainers that were in the corner that was filtering instructions to Bill Haney to give to his son sometimes. I've seen that. I'm aware of that. But why is that so important now in this fight? What is the significance of what my point is in this video about that? Well, the significance is very simple. If plan A for Devin Haney don't work, and he has to make the adjustment to go to plan B and or plan C to win against Brian Norman Jr., who is his instructions going to come from in between rounds? Who is his instructions going to come from in between rounds? Who is his motivation going to come from in between rounds when he's sitting on that stool? And the game plan and strategy is not effective against Brian Norman Jr. Because if you go back and look at Devin Haney's last two fights, I'm not even including the Lomachenko fight, just the last two fights with Ryan Garcia and Jose Ramirez, his trainer, his dad, did not do an effective job. His cornerman did not do an effective job before the fight started as far as strategy and game planning. When part A and part B don't work, so that Devin Haney can make adjustments in the ring. The last two fights alone showed us Devin Haney didn't make any adjustments in those last two fights to be more effective and come out victorious with more of a celebrated win that was appealing to this fan base. That cannot be the case in this fight against Brian Norman Jr. Another question that I asked, I'm going to ask it again. Who's going to be the referee in this fight? Now, what's the significance of me asking that question? Because we know when Devin Haney don't make adjustments and pressure is being applied on him when his opponent is advancing him, when it gets too hot on the inside, we know that Devin Haney ducks his head down. He bent his knee a little bit sometimes, but he duck his head down and he start to grabbing and holding. on the inside. He does that a lot. He does that excessively. When he fought Ryan Garcia, he did that excessively. And I got a lot of love and respect for my buddy, my homie, the referee in that fight, Harvey Dock. But I believe Harvey Dock did not take a point away from Devin Haney, nor gave him any substantial amount of warnings for the excessive holding. I don't think he did that. In fact, anybody that's looking at this can criticize me and say, why are you saying that about the referee, Harvey Dock, in public? Well, I actually call Harvey on the phone. I call him Harv. I call Harv on the phone personally, literally 2 days after the fight. And I already told him how I felt about that and asked him to come on my platform to render a statement, to give the fan base education on why did he take a point away from Ryan Garcia, so that the fans can be educated on the process of that. Why didn't he take a point or do warnings against Devin Haney for his excessive holding? So the fans can understand and be educated on that process as well. And he declined. But the bottom line is, if Devin Haney gets in trouble in this fight, when Brian Norman Jr. is pressing him and advancing him and throwing punches and landing shots and sneaking in those shots and getting on the inside and closing the distance, when Devin Haney reverts back to what we've seen him do when he's in trouble, when pressure is being applied, which is putting his head down and start holding, is the referee going to allow it if it becomes excessive? That's important. So the two questions that I have for now, as far as Devin Haney is concerned, is who's going to be the trainer, giving the instructions and the motivation for Devin Haney, and the strategy to implement game plan or part B when part A is not working in that ring in between rounds. And the second question is, who is the referee going to be? And are they going to hold Devin Haney accountable if he excessively holds in this fight? Those are the two questions that I have. And I'm going to leave you all with this, because I think this is as equally as important. Bill Haney calls Devin Haney Debo Dev. Tomorrow night at the weigh-in, you know, when Devin Haney steps on the scales officially, you know, when Brian Norman Jr. steps on the scale officially, I'm going to change the name that Bill Haney gave Devin from Debo Dev to Depo Dev. Yo, I play too much. Yeah, I said it. Not Debo Dev, Depo Dev. Come on, men. Y'all know what Depo is, don't you? Come on, ladies. I know y'all know exactly what Depo is. You see, Devin Haney's physique have transformed over the past 5 years since he's been with Victor Conte in the snack program. And I sat here and I've watched it. I've watched Devin Haney's physique change before my eyes. That's why I say Depo Dev. Because you know those substances that Victor Conte left behind and the gains that Devin Haney is still reaping the benefits of before Victor died, oh, it's going to be in his system. The snack program, it works. Snack will be in full effect for Devin Haney on Saturday evening. Devin Haney is not going to get tired, and we know that. But the question becomes, does Devin Haney has punch resistance? Does he have the psychological and mental fortitude? If he gets into the environment that reminds him of the trauma that he experienced against Ryan Garcia, when he gets hit with a big shot, how will he respond? That's a question that will be answered come Saturday. Because Devin Haney has no chin. But Brian Norman has no choice. What do I mean by that? Brian Norman has no choice. Well, Brian Norman has no choice but to go for the knockout in this fight for several reasons. Number one, Devin Haney's on snack. Number two, Turki Al-Sheikh has said time and time again that Devin Haney is his guy. You don't want to leave it in the hands of the judges to score round by round this fight in Saudi Arabia. Turki Al-Sheikh already telling everyone for a long time now that Devin Haney is his guy, which is why Tank Davis told Turki Al-Sheikh over the phone, I'm not going over to Saudi Arabia to fight Devin Haney if he is your guy. Because if I don't get the knockout, I'm not going to walk out of there with the win, even if I look impressive, even if I do win in that ring. That's Tank Davis's words, not mine. Not only that, but Devin Haney is a boxer. And Brian Norman Jr. is a boxer puncher. Brian Norman Jr. believes in his heart that Devin Haney won't be able to hurt him. He believes that. He's not worried about what's going to come back to him as far as if he throws a punch and land a punch. Because Devin Haney is a really, really good counterpuncher. So is Brian Norman Jr. They both are really good counterpunchers, but Devin Haney's specialty is counterpunching. So there's no power in the mind of Brian Norman Jr., that is. There's no power that's going to resist him from advancing to get the knockout on Devin Haney. Because that's what he's looking for. His words, not mine. He has no choice. Devin Haney has no chin. Brian Norman has no choice. Will it be dark? Will it get dark for Devin Haney? Yo, I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it.